Hi, and welcome to this briefing on headlines related to cars. This hour's focus is on BYD and Tesla, two EV manufacturers, and how, based on data, BYD appears to be poised to surpass Tesla in EV sales in the near future. Now let's get going. Tesla and BYD have emerged as the two leading businesses. Talking about EVs inevitably leads to debates between Tesla and BYD, particularly in light of the fact that BYD, Build Your Dreams, has eclipsed Tesla in terms of global sales. From its beginnings as a producer of batteries, BYD has evolved into a powerful force in the worldwide EV industry. Additionally, the Chinese company's overtake of Tesla signifies a pivotal point for the EV and the larger automobile industries. Compared to Tesla's 484,500 sales in the final quarter of 2023, the Chinese company sold 526,000 battery-only vehicles. Nevertheless, when all 2023 sales data is taken into account, the Elon Musk-led manufacturer still sold more. Tesla sold 1.84 million battery-only vehicles compared to 1.6 million sold by its Shenzhen-based, Warren Buffett-backed competitor. In addition to the previously mentioned units, BYD produced 1.4 million hybrids. The fact that BYD has moved into the fast lane is new proof of how competitive the EV market has grown and how difficult it will be for Tesla to veer back to the front of the pack, Susanna Streeter said. She is in charge of money and markets at the UK financial services firm Hargreaves Lansdown. Tesla's 1.84 million electric vehicle sales are somewhat below than its initial estimate of 2 million units delivered in 2023. It shows how the market has performed in light of growing borrowing costs and a difficult global economic environment. BYD's aggressive pricing approach has been a major factor in its rise. Because its cars are typically less expensive than Tesla's, BYD has expanded its appeal to a wider range of consumers. The internal production of electric vehicle batteries by BYD offers a significant financial advantage. An estimated 30% of a vehicle's overall cost is attributed to batteries alone. This strategy is in contrast to Tesla's, which is worried about possible shortages of lithium and depends on a number of suppliers. When comparing the starting prices of BYD's tiny SUV, the Atto 3, with Tesla's stylish sedan, the Model 3, the former has a starting price of $40,570 and $48,740 respectively. With a 60.5 kilowatt-hours battery, the small SUV Atto 3 has a 330 kilometers practical range and an efficiency of 183 watt-hours per kilometer (km). By comparison, the Tesla Model 3, which has a 57.5 kilowatt-hours battery, has an efficiency of 137 km and a range of 420 kilometers. The Atto 3 takes 7.3 seconds to accelerate from 0 to 100 km/h, whereas the elegant sedan Model 3 takes 6.1 seconds. With an eye on China's rapidly expanding electric vehicle market, new EV manufacturers are now starting to emerge. For example, Xiaomi, a Chinese smartphone manufacturer, has declared ambitions to release an electric vehicle, EV, to rival Tesla and Porsche. New models are anticipated from X. What's at CES 2024? Investors are tired of charging firms, and Tesla's biggest opponent moves into the passing lane. Whatever you think of the man at the top these days, and there is a lot to talk about, this year has been objectively fantastic for Tesla. Without the publicity that the Cybertruck brought, it remained the undisputed leader in EV sales throughout Europe, the United States, and beyond. However, it appears that Tesla's biggest opponent is ready to pass him in 2024. Welcome back to this latest briefing, your regular digest of news about electrification and automotive technology. We are grateful that you're here with us even though you could have been anywhere in the world. Today's roundup further seeks to cover investor fatigue, which is likely shared by you, and our expectations for CES 2024, given the uncertain state of the EV sector. Now let's get going. Hyundai, a South Korean company, had to go around 40 years from producing complete garbage to some of the best automobiles on the planet. It appears that BYD in China has now completed the identical task in about half the time. The battery behemoth appears to be ready to surpass Tesla as the market leader in electric vehicle sales worldwide, having acquired a bankrupt state-owned automaker in the early 2000s. A quick point of order: while many Chinese automakers, including BYD, count plug-in hybrids as electric vehicles, we draw a clearer distinction between the two. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about fully electric car sales that have no internal combustion engines. A recent study from Bloomberg highlights these developments, emphasizing how BYD is leading the charge, pun sort of intended, for a burgeoning Chinese auto industry that aspires to take the globe by storm. And it's not using gasoline-powered vehicles for this. According to that news, Tesla sold 3,456 less EVs worldwide in Q3 than BYD did. Based on Q4 data, it is highly likely that Tesla will have surpassed the American business in sales. It also offers a greater selection of cars at a lesser cost than Tesla. Although BYD is still in wait-and-see mode about US sales and is only making cautious advances into Europe, and not without a tariff battle, the sheer amount of EVs that the business sells in China alone makes up the difference. The shifting competitive dynamics between billionaire founder Wang Chuanfu of BYD and Tesla's Elon Musk, the richest executive in the world, are also reflected in the passing of the EV sales crown. Wang is going all out, whereas Musk has been cautioning that not enough people can buy his electric vehicles, EVs, at such exorbitant financing rates. His company sells 6 higher volume variants for a lot less money than Tesla does for its most affordable Model 3 sedan in China. Please click the subscribe button below to help this channel if you're enjoying the content. I'm grateful. In response to a video that a Tesla owners group posted in May showing Musk making fun of BYD's automobiles while making an appearance on Bloomberg television in 2011, Musk stated that BYD's cars are now very competitive. The anticipated shift in the global EV hierarchy is the accomplishment of a goal, Wang 57, set back when China was just beginning to develop its now dominant electric vehicle industry. While BYD keeps gaining ground on Tesla and every other automaker domestically, it's difficult to duplicate its explosive success outside. In an effort to protect thousands of manufacturing jobs, Europe is ready to follow the US in imposing additional taxes on Chinese auto imports. The EV markets in other nations are still developing and not nearly as profitable. Because Washington and Beijing are experiencing increasing trade tensions, management sees the US as practically off-limits. The article also mentions that China and Japan are tied for export volume this year. Once more, really impressive given how little Chinese automobiles are available in some of the largest markets in the world, such as the US market. It also clarifies why Berkshire Hathaway Incorporated, led by Warren Buffett, placed certain early wagers on BYD that are now reaping large rewards. I was unaware of this. Charlie Munger, the late vice chairman of Berkshire Hills, viewed BYD largely as a play on batteries. The company was working on one of the most important subjects affecting the technological future of man. He said on Bloomberg TV in May 2009, years before Berkshire, Munger's family had invested in the business, and he had told an interviewer just weeks before he passed away in November that he had attempted to talk Wang out of getting into the auto industry. In an October episode of the podcast Acquired, Munger stated, BYD was a miracle. He referred to Wang as a madman engineer and labeled him a genius, claiming that Wang's 70-hour work weeks prevented the company from going bankrupt. Elon is not as good at making things as the guy at BYD is, he declared. It is clear that Tesla is still in the lead in the US, Europe, and other markets as the P states. Tesla still has BYD beat on key metrics including revenue, income, and market capitalization. However, I believe that the absence of Chinese automakers in our market is, at most, a transient circumstance. Even their kind of capitalism finds a way, so if BYD and the others can produce affordable electric vehicles with excellent specifications that beat out the majority of rivals, it will be problematic for not only Tesla, but also General Motors, Toyota, Volkswagen, and the others. During the last 2 decades, Venture capital firms have been throwing practically limitless sums of money at different startups, hoping that eventually scale would translate into large profits. Call it FOMO for Facebook, Amazon, and Tesla. However, that strategy doesn't work in the current capital environment, where interest rates are much higher. As it turns out, the economy can't be run on free money forever. The Wall Street Journal writes that the abundance of EV charging companies isn't exactly winning over investors who are more focused on profitability than before. The chicken and egg issue with plugs and electric vehicles afflicts these capital-intensive companies, and revenues are still a long way off. The stock of ChargePoint Holdings has fallen 74% so far this year, and the company's original revenue estimates for the third quarter were not met. Shares of EVgo are down 21% and Blink Charging have plunged 67%. Both companies anticipate annual losses. The charging providers face the possibility of Tesla, the market leader in EVs, giving up a large portion of its well-known charging network to other drivers starting in 2024, and they don't anticipate to become profitable for around a year. The explosive surge in EV sales in the US has slowed. According to him, the days of massive spending for big, hairy, audacious goals in 2020 and 2021 are over. The industry-wide transition to electric vehicles, autonomy, artificial intelligence, and software-defined vehicles are all non-starters. Simply put, it's taking a little longer than most anticipate. I just want them in more typical, everyday parking lots, if you ask me. Even the less rapid Level 2 variety. In the EV market, those are incredibly underappreciated. It would be convenient to be able to add electrons while you're parked, don't you think? Following his January relocation from Adelaide in southern Australia to the small town of Boolaroo Centre, PK Saxena, a 36-year-old high school teacher, was faced with a daily drive of roughly 75 kilometers, 46 miles, to and from his new school in rural Orroroo. He made the decision to convert to an electric vehicle. When you move out to the country, fuel costs really do add up, he claims. Saxena gave Tesla Incorporated's Model 3, which is the least expensive electric vehicle, some thought before deciding on metallic gray Atto 3 from BYD Co., a Chinese company that has recently entered the local market. Despite having little recognition in Australia, the company is enormous in its native country, where it has been producing cars for than 20 years and has Warren Buffett as a long-term investor. Saxena anticipates receiving his BYD in the near future for roughly 47,000 Australian dollars, $33,000, which is roughly two-thirds the price of a Tesla Model 3. It hits that sweet spot, where it has enough to get you there but isn't expensive like some of the high-range cars, the man claims. And with that, we conclude for the time being. I appreciate you viewing. See you in the next video.